The object that I have here today is really representative of two generations and probably the value of getting ahead. It is a lump of copper from a mine in Upper Michigan, or the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and a canceled weekly paycheck from the Tri-Mountain, Michigan mine. And it was dated, or is dated, February the 19th, 1910, made out to Fred Jose, who was my grandfather. The amount on the check is $58.50, and the nearest we can tell is this was probably for a full month's wages. My father, or grandfather, was originally from Cornwall. He immigrated to this country a little before the turn of the century. And because he had been a miner in Cornwall, he of course looked for a mining position here in the United States. And like many other immigrants before him, he gravitated to where there was mining, which in his case was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where he became a copper miner. He was experienced, and so he was hired almost instantaneously. And he worked in the mines for a good decade or more. It was only shortly after this check was canceled that he married a daughter of another copper miner. And in 1917, they came south before then. They came south all the way to Detroit because Henry Ford was looking for people who know how to work with machinery in his automobile plants. And of course he was paying outrageous wages next to what they were earning in the copper mines up north. So he and his young bride came down to Highland Park, Michigan, purchased a house that was probably 3/4 of a mile from Henry's first Model T plant, the one that's pictured in many of the documentaries today on Woodward Avenue in Highland Park, Michigan. My dad was born in 1917, only a few years after they moved down here. And the other piece, I guess, of American history that sort of is part of their story is it was only shortly after my father was born that my grandmother succumbed to the Great Flu epidemic that came through the United States on the tail end of World War I. She was one of hundreds of thousands who died worldwide in that epidemic. And it happened in March, and as the family story went, there were so many people who had died that March, they had to wait till June to bury her. There were just too many bodies stacked up, and they couldn't bury them all at once.